Hey, hey.
Howdy, howdy, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm tired. I'm tired, man. I don't know why I've been so tired today all day long.
Uh,
It's been a struggle to stay awake. Just been
yeah.
tired all day since I woke up. I've been tired, but I'm here. I'm excited. Let's
You,
go.
you need the mushroom coffee. That's what I've been doing.
Nah, that's all right.
Oh man. So I tell you everybody before we get going, Greg is going to be on. He is running 20 or so minutes late. So he'll be joining us probably 8:20, 8:25, somewhere in there. So he is probably wrapped up telling a short story long. So that's what I'll say he's doing.
I mean, he's been known to do that a time or two.
Once or twice, just
He's
once or
pretty
twice.
good. He's pretty good at talking. That guy. He's pretty good. He's got the
Exactly.
gift of the gab.
Exactly. Yeah.
Never met a stranger. That guy's never met a stranger.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So what's going on down in southeast Alabama?
Well, we've been getting a lot of rain, honestly, about every day.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. The yard out here, I we were out of town this past weekend up in Arkansas, and the grass is just like 3 weeks ago, I thought it was going to dry up. I was trying to keep it alive, and now it's just now I got to mow it. Which I mean, I mow it anyway, but it is just crazy how green and pretty it is. It's just been raining, like during the morning and during the day, it's been hot and humid, and then in the evenings, pretty most every day, it seems like it's been a little thunderstorm blows through and wets everything up, cools everything down, makes everything green, and then the next day kind of repeat. Um,
Yeah.
but that's what's been going on. As far as the bees go, I haven't been in them since I added those queens about 10, 12 days ago now. 2 weekends ago. This past weekend, we moved my daughter. She graduated from Auburn University, and she moved to Batesville, Arkansas. She's going to be starting school at uh, Harding College in Searcy, Arkansas, which is she got a little commute there. But her fiance lives there in Batesville. He's at Lyon College. He plays football there, which is a little small school right there in town. So
Oh,
and
okay.
they're going to be getting married. It's her fiance. They're going to be getting married January 1st to 26. And so, but he's going to be
January
commuting too, I
1st.
guess. He's going to be getting nursing school. And so that's
Wow.
kind of their story, but they're in Arkansas. So and there are probably some people on here who know, I'm sure there's some people on here who know the answer to this, especially if you're from Missouri or surrounding states. But, and I learned this a few years ago. We were passing through Arkansas, but there are three main crops in Arkansas that we saw. We went right through the heart of, the eastern. We kind of went in through Memphis, then went north a little ways, kind of northwest, and then straight across west across kind of the heart of Arkansas. Batesville's it's kind of right towards the middle of Arkansas, kind of sorta, and it's about I'd say maybe 2/3 of the way north in the state.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't know if you know where it is or not, but it's a nice little town. There's a lot of really tiny little towns, but farming in Arkansas, I did see some beehives. I thought I should take a picture and post them on my social media and see if there were anybody's hives that knew us. I don't know, have any idea if they would or not, but there are three main crops up in Arkansas that we saw. We saw two of them were soybeans and corn, and the other one, it shocked me a few years ago when I learned about this. So you've probably already looked in the comments, but what would you think another crop would be in Arkansas? It just blows me away that they're the number one state in the country for this crop.
Rice.
Yeah, it's rice. Did you know that before this?
No,
Yeah, you saw 21st Bee put it in there.
I did. Yeah.
Man, it is like thousands of acres of rice in Arkansas. It blows me away. I'm just like, of all the places, Arkansas is kind of crazy.
Don't the fields
They have to be
uh
flooded. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're flooded. They're beautiful though. It's like it looks kind of grassy, and it's just like as far as you can see in some areas. You'll have a big soybean field and then you'll have a big rice field, but the ground. One thing I noticed about the area where we went through is it's just level. It's level. It would have to be to flood the fields, right? But it's just
Right.
level. Like it's not hilly where we drove across there where they raised that rice, but it's so they have it in some areas. They'll build up around the edges of the fields, like they're like little, almost like little mini dikes around them, and then they just flood them. And I don't know if they pump the water in from the rivers all around. Quite a few rivers. It's kind of not far from the Mississippi, and there's like little rivers and streams. I don't know if they pump it. from those rivers, or if they actually drill wells. There's pumps sitting at the edge of the fields, but man, I can't imagine how much water it must take to flood a 400-acre field, and some of them were just huge. Like
Yeah.
literally, you look across there and it's just almost as far as you can see, nothing but that rice. And it's kind of cool. It's green, where it's growing, I guess. And then when it starts to turn ripe, it turns kind of a golden color, really, really pretty. But yeah, 21st Bee, Michael says the Mississippi River Delta on the east side. And so I guess by delta, you mean it's obviously the river doesn't cover it, but I guess there's all kinds of little rivers and streams all through that land, and they must just pump it out of there, I guess, because I don't imagine there's that many wells. But very interesting to me. And I mean, most people wouldn't think of Arkansas. I would think Louisiana, Hawaii, coastal states would be where they would do that. But apparently, really good there.
I wouldn't think Hawaii just because of. I mean, I've been out there and it's so hilly.
Yeah, I know, but I just kind of because you think it's down there in the South Pacific, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just to me I would probably think Louisiana, and they may raise some in Louisiana. I don't know, but that would probably be my number one state. But it is really pretty. And then, it says, Dwayne Bittiger says, I see millions of geese in the rice fields every fall when driving through Arkansas. I talked to one of my future son-in-law's teammates, helped my daughter move in. They came over and helped out a little bit. And he used to work in the rice field some. And he told me that I guess at the end of, the end of the season, they just kind of, I guess they harvest and they kind of leave the fields alone, and then they flood them again. And it's a huge duck hunting. I guess they bring in ducks. It's a huge duck hunting state as well. The ducks come into those big fields, and they bring people in to hunt them. It's a big business too, to bring in the duck hunters. And then I guess when duck season's over, then they actually kind of, I guess they burn them off. I'm not sure how that all works. Somebody here might be able to say, but yeah, Spencer Cox says Arkansas is the duck hunting capital of the USA. So, two things, duck hunting and rice, are two big things I learned this weekend. I knew they had rice in Arkansas. I didn't know how it was harvested, but that young man told me a lot about how they do it. I guess they kind of leave it alone. They flood the fields again, and then when they're done with that, they burn it, and then they disc it up, and then they get it ready for the next year. Very interesting stuff.
That's pretty wild.
So much.
I mean, like, honest, I never
would have thought of that.
I would have never thought that we produce that much rice.
Yeah, it's huge. And it honestly, there's like probably at least almost as many acres of like soybeans is huge too, just soybeans as far as you can see too. So I'm not sure if they rotate the crops somehow. Folks in the comments, I'm sure could tell you. Yeah. Matt Kessinger says duck season on the Mississippi Delta in Arkansas. So that's just a thing. I didn't even know any of that, but it was pretty cool. But that's not beekeeping talk. But that is interesting how, you learn every state has its own thing, and went through a lot of really small towns there in Arkansas, out in that farmland. A lot of little tiny towns, like, a couple hundred people, 1,000 people, just tiny little communities that you'd kind of drive through, I guess little farming communities. And then with, they were kind of peppered in with some towns that were a little bigger, 5,000, 10,000 people. But really in that area, there weren't any really big city. Batesville is one of the bigger towns that we went to. And then now you get down to Searcy, you get on the interstate down there where we went to visit. Search where my daughter's going to go to school at Harding. And it's a significantly much bigger town, but up in that area up there, it's just really country and just a lot of really good down to earth people. We didn't meet anyone that was, we raised crawfish and rice together, then eat them together. I like it. Yeah, I knew they probably did. I think I've seen rice fields in Louisiana too, but I don't think they do near as much as Arkansas does. I actually looked it up, and they said Arkansas is by far, it said Arkansas is the number one producing state. Anyway, but that's enough talking about stuff besides bees. Maybe we should talk about bees. But I haven't been in my bees since, like I say, about 12 days ago, and introduced those queens from Zach, and so probably gonna get to get in them this weekend a little bit, just see how the queens are looking, and just kind of check the overall, just kind of peeking on them a little bit. I just don't want to get in them a whole lot. This time of year is just so kind of miserable here to be getting in bees, and so I'm gonna be doing some health checks, just some checks to see how they're doing. But I'm not gonna be just going through and doing a lot of bee work this weekend anyway. I may have a little bit to do the following weekend, but this weekend there's kind of rocking and rolling. I want to get down to a couple of bee yards. I want to get down to Slocum. I haven't been there since I put the half of our strip, or wait, what did I do? Yeah, since we put the Roxanne strips, I haven't been down there since we put the Roxanne strips in, and so I have no idea how that BR is
Yep.
doing. I assume they're doing well, but it's been what,
The
3 or 4 weeks.
Well, the Varoxan altogether, it's what is it, 42 to 56 days.
I think so.
So,
I'd have to look at it. Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty good. Like the guy that I've been mentoring a little bit, I went out week and a half ago, I think, to his place, and we put Varoxan in. We did mite wash on one of the two. That way, I could, show him what a mite wash is. I could show him what Varroa looks like.
Sure.
And he did wash a couple mites. So we did the Varoxan. Like I was talking to him about vaporization versus the Varoxan, the strips, and he is a super busy guy. So
Yeah.
I said, like, they're both like, they're not heavy knockdown treatments. They'll maintain your numbers. And he said, yeah, the Varoxan would be good then, just because he bounces all over. Like he's in Pennsylvania, he's in Ohio, he's down in Florida, he's all over the place. So
Yeah, I'm a fan if it works well, and I've heard it's kind of a new product, but
yeah,
I've heard that it really, I've heard, some people don't think it works, but I've heard really good reviews on it. And so I'm going to find out. I did put it in there in the spring, but I left it in there. Honestly, I left it in there until we harvested. So I left it in there longer than what the package says. But
okay.
this is my theory on oxalic acid. To me, it's an organic compound, and it kind of burns the mite. Like it's like I kind of like to compare it. I know this is different, but say there's a poison that's poisonous to humans, like for example, just say nerve gas, which that's a brutal comparison, but humans are never going to become. We're never going to be able just to overcome that. Like our immune systems aren't going to adapt to that. So when I think about oxalic acid, whether it be vapor or any form of oxalic acid, to me, and tell me if I'm flawed in my thinking here, are the bees going to be able to become immune to an organic acid like that, formic, oxalic acid? I just don't know that's because it burns them, like it
Yeah,
injures them.
mites.
It doesn't, so to me, those are my thoughts on that. I might be wrong. So I don't, and plus when the Varoxan strips, when I went in there, a lot of them have been chewed up, carried out, just little tiny pieces of them left. So it's not like it's a low part of a chemical in there that they're going to be able to have more and more time with a weaker dose to be able to get used to. I don't think. I could be wrong on that. But it is kind of difficult, honestly, with the Varoxan. It's really easy to put in, but it's a little bit difficult to get it out because they chew it away. And what you'll notice is sometimes they chew it away around the top, or they kind of glue it, like they work around it. And so when you go to pull it out, it's soft and it just breaks apart, and it'll kind of fall down between. So I didn't actually get all the old Varoxan out even. There were still some strips of it in there, but there's like little tiny pieces of it because the bees do start chewing it and carrying it out, which I think that alone is not a bad thing because they're kind of carrying it through the colony, kind of like they do, a little bit with other products. And
Right.
anyway, I'm a bad beekeeper. I didn't get it out in the 6 to 8 weeks like I was supposed to,
Bad,
but
bad.
we'll see how it does. I'm eager to see. I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to look when we pull the strips out, when we do the checking here. At the end of this, I'm going to try to check them. Probably put them in the 3rd of July, and so mid to late August is when I plan to kind of do some checks on them and see how they're doing. And I'll be eager to see. I've heard really good things about them from people that I know that have used it significantly. But we'll see. It is so convenient now. It is expensive. You got to put 8 in a strong double deep 10 frame. You got to put four strips per box. So that's 8 strips in a box. And when you're paying, if you pay full price for it, if you don't have a lot of colonies, you don't order a pallet of it, it's going to cost you more than $1 per strip. And so that can get expensive. I bought 900 strips and I put in 895. And so, you just do the math on that, how much that would cost if you pay full price, 1,300-1,400 bucks or something like that. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But I happened to get a really good deal on it because Tyler down there ordered a whole pallet of it. He's a commercial guy, and he sold it to me. I think we paid way less than that for. I think I paid 750 bucks or so, give or take, for the entire 900 strips. And so it was a much better deal. but it can get expensive. But for me, the time, time is money. If I try and hit them with OAV 4 to 6 weeks in a row, 4 or 5 weeks in a row, it just takes so much time to do that. And then what if I miss a weekend? You got to
Right.
do it every week. So you're doing
Yeah.
100, probably now 130 colonies times 5 weeks in a row. This time of the year when it's so hot outside, it's just so much easier to take a couple days, put the strips in, and leave them alone for 6 to 8 weeks. Is kind of what my thought process was. I did it with the Apivar before, and that's kind of one reason I'm using that right now. I know you can use the homemade OAV glycerin pads
Yeah.
as well. It's just, to me, just that, once again, time is money. It's time. I know they're probably cheaper to do it that way, but I just don't have time to, or I haven't taken the time. I haven't made an emphasis to mix up my own batch, figure out how to do the strips or the towels and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it just works. I think it's going to work well for me, assuming it does the job that it's supposed to do.
Yeah. I'll tell you here, I didn't use the Varroxan this year. I had enough time that I was able to go through, and I did 5 rounds of OAV. And I did it every 4 to 5 days. So one of the rounds, it was 6 days. I'd gone over on day 5.
Well, I didn't Cameron Jack say 5 to 7 day, 5 treatments, 4 treatments or 5 treatments, 5 to 7 days
I think it
apart?
was 5. Yeah.
So he said, I think he said 4 treatments, 5 to 7 days apart. So if I wouldn't get too concerned if it's actually 6 or
Yeah.
7 days. I mean, I just do it from one weekend to the next. It might be 6 days or 8 days, honestly, if I wait. But I just, when I'm doing it, I just do it each weekend. I'm usually
Yeah.
working my bees on Fridays and Saturdays, and so I think you're probably okay if it was 6
Well, for
days or
me,
7 days.
yeah. I mean, for me, you figure I've got 18 hives.
Sure.
So for me to go through, and I'll tell you what, that instant vape, uh,
Mhm.
my dosage, uh, is basically as much as what you can fit in the
Yep.
plunger.
Yeah, if you're doing single deeps, that's perfect.
I
I
think
mean,
that,
I know what the approved amount is, but what
yeah,
amount actually works? I actually do 4 grams per
right.
box. I do 4 grams per box. So I hit mine twice. I
Yeah,
pop it in there, get it going, pop it in the next hive, get it going. I've got 2 of them going at the same time. And then by the time get the second one started, the first one's done. So I just pop them twice and I'm starting moving around. I can get done really quick with 2 of those things. But anyway,
yeah.
someone was asking about Greg. Greg is actually, he's going to be
He'll be
here. He's running a few minutes late.
Yeah,
And so don't never fear. Greg's going to be here. He just has some things
he'll be
he's taking
yeah,
care of real quick. He should be in here any minute now, but we're just
yeah.
trying to kind of hold it down until then. Brian, what's going on up there in northeastern
But
Ohio?
yeah, I got my OAV finished up. I did the 5th treatment on Monday. Grinned and bared it through the heat. There were a couple days there where literally, the one day when I was out there, the heat index was like 108. So, but now when you're doing OAV on 18 colonies, I was a half an hour, so half an hour I was started the thing up. I literally would plug the battery in, start the instant vape, and then I would go over in shorts, but I learned the bees do not like getting messed with when it's, triple digits as far as heat index. And we hit a little bit of a dearth also, so they're a little bit, a little temperamental, so to say. So while I would, put pants on, put my jacket, and do all that stuff, I'd get my mics, the oxalic acid, supporting the local Ohio business there. I'd grab my OA, walk out, and go through a half an hour. So my treatments are done. I plan on now from Monday. I'm letting them go until Saturday. Monday when I did go over though, well, no, maybe it was. Oh, maybe it was the time before that. But I got bee bites on my colonies, and they literally. So it was in the fourth treatment. I did the bee bites and I put buckets on. Literally in a 4-day time frame, Bruce. Like I got the big brick of it. And I would just, use my Hive tool and scoop some out. I'd pancake it on my gloves and put it in. In a 4-day time frame, it was almost entirely gone. There were just little teeny smidges of it left of the bee bites. So I got a dose of that in. The buckets, I checked it after 4 days. Half of the colonies, they were completely empty. 4 days, they wiped out a gallon. So, I'll end up, I'm going to get more syrup on them. Like my wife was saying earlier when we were talking, and I told her that I had the syrup on. She said, I don't remember you feeding like your bees in the middle of the summer like this. And like prior years, what I would do is I would just start to let them get into some of the honey. I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm getting that feed on them. I want them to keep moving forward. All my supers are off though. So, the ones that I'll harvest from. So the bees are doing good. Now, this Saturday, I do plan on going over, and I'll probably spend 6 hours or so just because I'm going to go through every colony, check the brood nest. I'm going to do some spot mite washes here and there. And I'm going to do like Saturday will be my overall assessment. What do they look like for weight? What do the brood patterns look like? It's just that's going to be the day where, I look at really everything. So, I'm giving them, they'll have a 5-day rest period from the last dose. And I think, well, I'm hoping that I see some good things. I
I'm
think
sure
I
you will.
will. There's only one colony that was requeening itself. They got nectar bound, when I didn't get over to put a super on, and they requeen, they started the process. I had another one that was doing that, but I found a virgin in there. Now I don't know. I wasn't sure whether she was like newly mated or whether she was a virgin, because she looked a little larger than what like a typical virgin would be, but there was a queen in there. So overall, I think I'll be pleased with what I see, but that's going to be this Saturday. This Saturday is going to be, what the heck is my phone?
It's not me this time.
Oh, okay. So my son-in-law, um, just, he was flipping a house. He just started. It's the first one that he was doing, and it sold. That's awesome. That's good. Anyways, what was I talking about? I lost my train of thought. But yeah,
Something.
the
Yeah.
bees, I think I'm gonna be happy. I mean, like if I look at where I was at last year, it'll be August 2nd, and all the challenges that I had last year. Now, last year there were a lot of people that were in this chat here. They had the same exact challenges. It was just queen issues. We were in a dearth like you wouldn't believe. Well, a drought. Ohio. I wasn't quite as bad as Greg, but we just, we had such a bad drought and everything like that last year that I never built up. From the numbers that I started my season with, whenever I did splits, anything like that, they never made it. So I never, throughout the entire summer, I never grew in numbers, and then I ended up, I had those few collapse throughout the winter. This year, I haven't had. There's been one colony that it was a split where I moved one of my older queens over just to keep her. They got annihilated. So whether it was one of the other ones in the yard, but they just annihilated it. And it was it was like a 3-frame split. So they just, I probably should have moved them out of the yard, but they just got annihilated. So that's the only quality I lost. But I mean, that could have been my own fault. But all the other ones, they're all progressing along. So, but yeah, this weekend's going to be a deep dive. I've already told my wife, I probably am going to end up spending 6 or so hours on Saturday with the bees. So
Sounds good. I will say, you know, for those that haven't seen it, Brian's doing a great job with his videos, you know, going from starting the year with 3,
yeah,
building up to 18 or 19 colonies. And I a recent video you did, I'm not sure if it was your most recent or not, Brian, but you talked about how you were staggering in the yard and stuff like that. I'm like, if it gets to that point, man, you've gone too far. You can't let yourself get that hot. If I get
yeah.
to that point, I just get in my truck and go home, because the next step for me is passing out in the bee yard. So I got to get in a cool area and get hydrated. So, I
When
mean,
that
I know we're coming into the dog days of summer here, dog days of August. And so right here in Alabama right now is, you know, now if we keep having these evening rains, it really helps with the temperature and the heat. But, you know, if it's, you know, it can be just brutally hot and just nasty. And it's been that way now for a few weeks. And so, I mean, the older I get, the more I have to, just like we talked about before, I have to listen to my body and just hydrate, go get cool. The biggest thing for me is, yes, hydration, but also just figuring out a way to get cool, because I just get so hot.
mm,
Like I'm going along fine. All of a sudden I'm like, man, I am just, I've just got to get out of this heat just even for a little
yeah.
while. Even if I
Has
sit in my truck
anybody
and go ahead.
have you, or has anybody in the chat? I just saw the other day, and it was I didn't even Google it, so the algorithm wasn't even looking out for this. But I saw this ad pop up somewhere. I don't know whether it was on YouTube or on, it was on some social media platform. And it was this neck fan thing that it cools. And
I've
I
heard.
thought, if you go on Amazon or wherever and you just type in like neck fan, it looks like a kind of like a, I don't know, like a C shape, and it fits on your neck and it blows, it blows up on your face. But like all the reviews, like this one guy said, he works outside a lot, and he said he would literally have sweat dripping off of his like chin. And he said since he got that thing, he said he don't sweat. And I'm like, man, I mean, I'm sure the rest, my torso and that would, but if I could, fit that under in my bee jacket, look at that. Anne says, yeah, wear a neck fan. It works fine if it's not 100 degrees. Okay. And Matthew's saying Cayman uses one. I mean, well, so Glade uses one too. Randy saw that. So that's something I might consider. And they're cheap, Bruce. They're like, I saw some for 20 some bucks. And I'm like, if 20 some dollars will help keep me a little cooler than what I normally am,
Yeah,
it's
I've heard people say there's a little cooling vest you can wear as well that cools you. Like you put a little vest under your bee jacket that really helps. But I haven't. I just I haven't invested in anything like that.
yeah.
It
That
might be a good
day,
idea.
that day when I was filming that video, I actually had 3 more hives that I needed to check, and I just walked away. When I quit filming that, when I said I got staggered, I turned around and it's like the apiary was just doing this, and I'm
Yeah,
like, gotta
you
get out
just
of
about
here.
overdid it, man.
I just,
Hey,
yeah,
I'm seeing some folks putting some questions in. If you have questions, if you put them all caps, we'll be more likely to see them and catch them. We've been talking. I don't know if we've caught some of the questions, so just be sure you put them in there.
yeah,
But I've seen a few questions that weren't in all caps, but just try to all caps if you can. It'll help us see them easier. But yeah,
here by Troy.
so some people in here are talking about Nightbot, and I think they're joking. I think they know what Nightbot is, but those who wonder what Nightbot is, it's a technology that we use to help, keep people from putting bad words in the chat or trolls coming in. We used to, when we start there, we'd have to always be thumping trolls, and I was never fast enough at it. We get all kinds of crazy stuff, but in Nightbot you could put any words that you don't want to show up, or anything, flag any bad words, nasty words, comments and things like that, and it just
Yeah.
automatically eliminates them so they don't come up in the chat. And over time we've increased the words that it thumps, and so You know, rarely do we have one pop up, you actually make it through. Sometimes it will, but that's kind of what Nightbot is. It's not an actual person. So
Yeah.
I think most people in here that are commenting on know what it is, but I just thought I would, those
Yeah.
who may not know, it also puts in, you know, it also, you can put comments in there that it'll
Yep.
just every few minutes, it'll put in a comment or a link to some, you know, if we have a guest on or even ourselves, we'll put a little link in there. So that's what Nightbot is, in case you're wondering. It's not an
It's
active person.
basically,
That's,
yeah, it's basically a third party, like, uh, kind of management tool, so to say,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Bruce
It's a
said.
tool. It's a tool.
You,
It's a tool. That's a good way to put it. Yep.
you plug in, you can tell it like, uh, you know, no spamming. So that way, if people get in here and like way back, we would get trolls that would come in and just spam certain things. It'll put them automatically in timeout. You know, like you program in like all the naughty words, so it won't allow them. And you know, I kind of have mine. I've kind of tapered back on how strict Nightbot is. On my channel just because we haven't had trolls in so long, because it would thump some people and it's like, no, stop that. But you have to, like, even Nightbot has the wrench on there because you have to make, in order to enable all of the features with Nightbot, you have to add Nightbot as a moderator for your channel.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's not obnoxious, I don't think, but it is kind of funny. People were like, "You better watch it." Nightbot's
Yeah,
stuck up. Nightbot's gonna. I think they're just joking back and forth. I think they know what it is. So.
yeah, yeah. Here's a good question here. Bruce, you're down south. I mean, this is north of you. So is it too late in the season to requeen my aggressive hives?
I just did some a couple of weeks, like 10, 12 days ago. I had 28 queens and I did it. I think the key, now we'll see how they do. I didn't actually feed them because there was quite a bit of food on the colonies. I should have probably done that, but it was just a time thing and I didn't have time to mix up the feed and do it. And I had 28 queens I had to get in. So it's a good idea, I think, to make your splits fairly strong this time of the year. Don't be making little wimpy splits with like a couple frames of bees or brood. They need to be pretty strong. Like the ones I made were 10 frame splits, just basically double deeps or deep in a medium, just pull 10 frames over and make sure there's plenty of bees. So I think it's okay. And then it's really good idea to feed them as well. That keeps them happy and they're more likely probably to accept the queen. I think I have some cotton. Well, I know I have some cotton blooming around some of my bees, and so there is some nectar coming in. And so I think there is, anyway. They seem pretty happy that day, and so I did not put food on them. I probably should have, and I need to do better about that. I may make a few more here in a couple of weeks. Just I've got, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but yeah, I think you can do it. But I think it's more difficult. It's more tricky, and I've gotten absolutely annihilated when I've done it and haven't done it the right way. When I've tried to do spring splits in the summer where you can't lose in the spring lots of times because the bees are happy. Everything's, the
Yep.
bees are buzzing, the birds are chirping, everybody's happy. It's different in July and August because the bees can be robby. They can be a little more feisty. It's hot and humid. They're miserable. We're miserable. Everybody's miserable, and
Yeah.
and they are a little bit more up to shenanigans in the summertime. In July and August, they get after each other more, and so you have to do what it takes to get. And also, I think it is important to have some source of food in that colony because I think they're happier then and they're more likely to accept a new queen. But it can be done. I don't know if the acceptance rate is high in the summertime, but it can definitely be done. Last year I had successful splits. The previous year I completely destroyed a whole bee yard basically when I did it in August. I just didn't do it right. I did everything kind of wrong. And I learned a lot from that. And last year, even with the week splits I did, there were a few that didn't make it, but most of them did. And those were some of my big production colonies this year. The late summer splits I made, and then the ones I did this summer, I'm going to be eager to see, kind of get in them and see how they look. I didn't do a video on it. I just didn't have time that day to set up my camera and do all that and explain everything. I had to get it done. But I think, they're going to do okay, even though I didn't feed them. I hope they do. Otherwise, it was a lot of money wasted.
I've messed up. I've messed up some later requeening projects that I've tried, and what I learned is like what you said in the springtime. When you do requeen, it's a little forgiving.
Yeah,
Like you said, they're happy. There's so many different sources of food out there. Everything's blooming. everything's happy. Later in the year, where I messed up is when I pinched the queens. I didn't give them enough time, and they basically annihilated the queens that I put in there. They released them, annihilated them, and then made cells. So what I learned, at least when I did it up here in Ohio, and this might just be for everywhere, I don't know, but the lesson that I learned then was pinch the queen and then go back, 5-6 days later, smash down any cells. And at that point they're not going to have anything that they can really make a queen out of. So you're limiting the odds that they're going to produce their own. And then when you introduce your mated, the percentage, acceptance is a little higher. I just, lesson learned for me. So
yeah, I think it's doable. I know pro guys do it. I know my commercial guy doesn't like to do splits right now. He will do them sometimes, but he actually prefers to do splits like in September, October when the goldenrod stuff is blooming. It's like another, and then he'll do some splits then.
wow.
But to me, that's he does it every year. He does a lot of splits in the fall, but I haven't done a lot in that late in the season. But anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, I feed. I just kind of treat them. I just kind of treat them as if, I treat them, but I also treat the bees. I don't want them to starve while they're being treated. I don't know. I think some things like if you look at the instructions, it'll tell you if you shouldn't. I think with formic, you might not want to feed during active formic treatments, I believe. But it's on the directions. I might be getting my treatments mixed up, but there are some things you may not want to feed during, but I think anything OAV related, I don't think is an issue at all. Apivar, I think it's fine. But as far as the more aggressive, not just say Apivar, yeah, I think it's fine. Anything Amatraz based, I think is fine. But when it comes to things like Apigard and Formic Pro, I would just be careful. I would definitely look at the instructions and see. I do. Isn't it true? Doesn't Formic say not to feed when you're treating? I can't remember for sure. I think it may say that. But I'm not positive.
I don't know.
Just read the packaging and roll with that. But as far as OAV, I don't see any issues with it. I'm not sure how that would be a problem with OAV or anything oxalic acid related or the Apivar. Apivar is actually pretty mellow. It's a mellow, mild as far as like what it does to the bees. It doesn't run them out of the hive or anything. It's almost like you don't even skip a beat with the Apivar Amatraz based products. And so that's kind of been my experience anyway.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like the fourth round of my OAV, I went through the yard and put the bee bites on, put the buckets on, and then right after I did that, I vaporized them.
Yeah, I don't see that would be a problem.
Yeah,
I would be careful about combining different treatments, though. That's probably not a great idea.
Yeah,
Mike Berry had an experience with that where he did Apigard and OAV the same day, I think, and he felt like that was too hard on his bees. Last year, I had some mite bombs, and so I got real aggressive. I did Apigard, and I did it was hot that day, or no. The first treatment I put on in September was actually kind of cool that day, so I did a full dose treatment of Apigard, thymol treatment, and then a week later, after the Apigard had a chance to kind of vapor off and kind of become mild and not be as strong, I hit him with a heavy dose of OAV and then came back and treated him with. I'm not saying anyone should do this now. It's off label. But then I came back and it was hot again, so I did 2 half doses of Apigard, and it just absolutely annihilated the mites. I'm not sure how it did, but it really worked well, and the bees didn't really skip a beat doing that. But I would never do them both the same day personally. I don't like it to be too much.
I just saw when you're saying, and this goes for really any treatment out there, when you said read the label. So I saw in a beekeeping group the other day, somebody used Formic right now.
Yeah, I saw that, and I saw somebody doing that. That was on one of those. It was on one of those. I saw it on one of those. It's a friendly Beekeepers for Beginners or something like that forum.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, I mean, I can't believe it. It's killing all my bees. And I'm thinking, well, it's July, you know, and people were like, oh, yeah, it always kills your bees. It's horrible
Yeah.
for your bees. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's,
Read the label.
yeah, the
The,
temperature's so temperature sensitive. And
the US is so hot right now that I don't care where you are at in the US. Like today, our heat index was 102 Northeast Ohio. You
yeah,
put formic on a colony right now,
yeah, I'd kill them.
you might as well just take a blowtorch to them. It'd be faster.
Yeah.
So just read the labels. Whatever you do, read the labels. When it says do not, especially like for formic, it says do not use above, I think, what is it, 83 or 85 degrees? Don't do it. Oxalic acid is a little bit more forgiving of a treatment. The labels, Mike is on here and he could tell you exactly what the labels are approved. I think it's what, 2 grams per brood box or something like that. I've gone outside of label. I've gone off label. It's a little bit more forgiving though, but there are certain treatments out there that are absolutely not forgiving, and you go off label with them, and you're going to annihilate a colony.
Yeah. Are you catching these questions, Brian? There's been a few coming through.
I'm seeing
There's some
some
pretty
of
good
them.
ones. Um, we've got some folks in here commenting a little bit on treatment free, and I'm totally behind folks that want to try and do that. I'm not against treatment free. I just know that with
Yeah,
me, I just don't like. I mean, I think if you're doing it from a scientific standpoint, you're really doing a good job of, take if it's just put the bees out there and let them die or live and the survival of the fittest. I don't think that's not how I want to do it. That's what I thought I could do,
uh,
and I got annihilated doing that. And so I'm not opposed to people doing that. I think it's a good idea if you if you watch it, and people who do it successfully are very almost scientific about it and they really work at it. And so, but then again, I think that we should have grace towards people who want to try that. And then they should also have grace towards those that want to treat. And some people just feel like it's my way or the highway. And I don't like that at all. That's not what this is about. And so, but the comments have all been friendly. I just want to say that I know that I do have respect for people that try to do that. It's just not what I've chosen to do because I just don't want to lose, for the next 8 or 10 years until I get a really treatment free product out there. I don't want to lose, 50 to 80% of my bees every year. And in my case, that's kind of what I think was going to happen. Plus, I have found just in my limited experience, my Alabama bees are pretty tough. They're pretty rugged, just the feral bees around here. They do pretty well with mites and stuff, but they are just nasty mean. And I'm just not going to put up with that anymore. And also, I've tried some VSH stuff and they were just more feisty than I wanted. And so what is that? Is
that's
that
a
a
neck
microphone?
fan from no,
Oh,
that's the
okay.
neck fan.
Okay.
Lee sent that. It
But
fits in the jacket and works good.
so I do think that it's I personally am totally fine with trying to get my bees calmed down. That's my number one emphasis right now is attitude. Number two is productivity. Those are the things I'm really focusing on now. Overall health of the bees, and then down the road, if I get into queen rearing a little bit, I will definitely choose from the bees that have the lower mite counts in them. I'll try to figure
Yeah.
out those and then breed from those, and ultimately, I think I'll end up with a more resistant type bee. But I just can't do survival of the fittest. And some people, like I say, if I just had done survival of the fittest with feral bees here and continue to catch swarms and do cutouts and just do local stock from the trees, from the woods, I might end up with some tough bees that are pretty much treatment free or don't have a lot of mites in them. But they also, you guys have seen historically how my bees were when I
Yeah.
first got started, and that's what I was doing mostly.
Tickle your
And
pants.
it just wasn't
Mm,
worth worth it to me. So
yeah.
anyway, off my soapbox, not. I mean, I think we all have to just kind of do our own thing, and I respect everyone for doing that. But do understand, bees do take work, regardless of what your goals are, whether it's treat or treatment free. It takes a lot of work, and you have to kind of, what is it? Assess how your bees are doing, and then you have to pivot sometimes and do things differently, whatever approach you take. So
Yeah. Yeah. Gigi's honeybees here. this is right up your alley there, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
This will be my first treatment. What is recommended? I have 2 colonies, and you know exactly where she's at.
Yeah, Gigi, Amy came down and helped us harvest. She's awesome, awesome lady. And Gigi, I would say, right now this time of the year, there's a couple of things you can use. I think safely, as far as like not being too hard on the bees. Number one would be, or 3 things. Number one, I would say you could use Apivar in the summertime. There's really no heat limitation on that. It's very gentle on the bees. The problem with Apivar is some mites are becoming resistant to it, I think, out there. Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it may not work as well. And so I would assess your colonies, do some mite washes, see what you got. But I use that for years, and it's been one of my tools in my toolbox I've used in the past with good success. And that's something that's out there. You can use Apivar. It's an Amitraz-based product. The other product is, I think I'm glad it's out there now, is anything to do with oxalic acid. The Varroa is an oxalic acid. Kind of similar and I guess it's OA oxalic acid and glycerin mix, and you can buy it, and it's strips you put in the colonies, and it's supposed to be pretty effective. It's a brand new product. It's only been out a couple of years now, and so those are the 2 things I would recommend kind of choosing between. I've got Varroa in my colonies right now, and they're doing fine right here in the South. You can right squirrel.
That's another reason why my phone's been big, and I've been watching these bucks at my feeders.
Brian keeps showing pictures. Squirrel, Ice Age. Anyway, but yeah, and then the other thing is, you can do OAV, oxalic acid vapor, but with brood in the hives, you need to make sure you do at least 4 to 5 treatments, 5 to 7 days apart, is what Cameron and Jack said, and to knock those mites down. And so it's very labor intensive to do that. If you got a couple of colonies, if you have the vaporizer, it's not too hard to do that. But in my case, that would be a lot to do in the summertime. I do hit them with OAV in the wintertime when it's not so hot, and when I have a little more time, they're just kind of holding in a holding pattern. But right now, I just don't want to do that. So,
yeah.
But my recommendation would be right now. I think I would I've done this Apivar or Varroa right now. And I did a little test. I've talked about this before. Some people may not have heard this, but 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, I've been taking care of my bees out in my out yards, and I had some colonies right here in my backyard. I think I had 6 or 7 back here, Apamay colonies here in my backyard, and I just neglected them all the way through the year. I'm always, when they're right there in eyesight, sometimes it's easier to neglect them because you're like, oh, I'll do those later. Next thing you know, it's been a whole year and you haven't treated them. So, the Apamay hives have the little slide, the little tray in the bottom that you slide in and out.
Yep.
So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to treat these bees, and just see what happens. Well, when I treated them the first time, at least one, I can't remember how many were back there, but I remember one of them in particular, like it was thousands of mites dropped on that tray. I hit him with the OAV. It was just horrible. So many mites. I was embarrassed at how many mites. There's no way I could have counted them. It had to have been that. Like the whole thing looked like it was pepper with mites, red, little brown, black pepper on them. It was just totally covered in mites, thousands of mites. I treated it. I said, okay, I'm going to treat them once a week and see what happens until I don't have mites anymore. So, people say that OAV with brood in the colonies won't knock the mite numbers back. Well, now in the wintertime here, it is less, but we have brood throughout the year here. We never go broodless. So I hit them the next week and it was a similar story. Still had a lot of mites. It may not have been quite as many, but it was close. 3rd week I hit them. A week later I hit them, and the numbers started to drop down. And then I hit them again, and I think I hit them 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And by the end, there were almost no mites.
Were you doing gram?
I was just doing 2 grams per box back then. I didn't know about the 4 grams. Yeah, I don't think I was doing 4 grams then. I think it was a double deep. I think I probably was doing 4 grams total. But I don't even think I didn't even have it was before Instant Vap. It was with the old one, the old Lorob's.
Oh, okay.
Vaporizer, I think. You know how Rob had those trays for a while to use with the Apamay colonies? He sent me one of those. That's what I was using. And so, you can knock the mite numbers down, but you just have to hit them hard and often to do that. You have to hit them at least every 5 to 7 days, once a week until they stop. So they stop dropping. And if you don't have that tray to pull out and look, how do you really know? I guess you can pull the frames out and look down there, but it's kind of hard to know. You can put little sticky boards in there too. I think people do that to see what the drop is.
Well,
but
if you use screen bottom board, you can basically take,
Sure.
I mean, you could take an election sign
Oh
and
yeah.
make a sticky board out of it and slide that in. But like I used to have all screen bottom boards a couple years. Well, when I started out, I've gone to all. Let me see here. Steven says, "See my comment."
Yeah, guys, we're keeping them up here. We're starring comments, so I hope Brian you're catching them, but
Yeah, I've
we're
got
just not
some.
we can't hit them all immediately, but we'll bring that. Thanks for reminding us on that, Steven. I'm not sure. Did you catch it there, Brian?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
There was one comment about if we recommended. Is that the one about if we recommended them going to the conference with their wife being due close to that time? Did you see that one? Can't remember who that one was from. We need to probably answer that one. Yeah. Quick question, and I'm torn because the 2026 Bee Expo by Fate lands on my wife's due date in January. What do you guys think I should? Do you think I should chance it?
And
I think he put a later and said her due date is in January. I don't think it's that same day. But this is always my philosophy. I just say family comes first. So, and if your wife is really cool and she's okay with you coming to that thing, if there's a possibility she's going to have that baby when you're gone, then that's okay. But I think most women would probably prefer to have you
yeah.
home and not risk it.
Well, so the only questions I would have would be if the due date's in January, like is it January 28th or something like that? Or are you like 3 weeks off?
Mm-hmm.
Is mom and baby right now healthy? That's the thing. If there's any question at all, as far as you'll be gone and then the wife's going to go to the hospital and there's complications, things like that, I wouldn't even think about going to a conference. So there's a lot of factors that go into there, but if everything's all healthy, everyone's all healthy, I wouldn't. I personally, if the due date is that week or even the week,
I would say no.
I wouldn't go. If you're looking at maybe third week, fourth week of January, maybe. But yeah, that's a tough decision. So tough one. Yeah. Here's a question here from Steven. How much beeswax melt 3 ounce? So how much beeswax melt 3 ounces of beeswax? How much liquid wax do you get?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no clue. How much liquid do you get from 3 ounces?
It's pretty dense, and so I don't know that it really, if anything, it might expand a little bit. There might be more liquid than there is weight.
Yeah.
But I don't know because when it like if you put it in a mold, I've got a mold right here. Actually, I'm replacing this mold. It's going bad. If you get a mold like this, if you fill this thing up with beeswax and you build all the way to the very edge of this thing right here on this thing, and a little bit, I even filled up even a little bit so you can see it level even a little bit higher. But when it actually hardens, it shrinks a little bit, and so it's actually dips down a little bit. It's not quite all the way up to the edge, and so I would say the liquid is going to be a little tiny bit more than the actual hard beeswax, but I have no idea what liquid versus weight ounces would be. I have no idea on that. Like,
So
beeswax is weight. It's kind of like honey. It's done by the weight. So I don't know.
This bar that I have here is 5 ounces.
5 ounces weight?
Yeah, that's 5 ounces of weight.
Okay.
So
I don't know how you tell how many liquid ounces that would be, though.
Well, so I'll tell you, it does shrink down a hair, like when
it hardens.
Yeah. When I pour, I've got the mold up on top of there. Here, I'll just go grab it because it's right here.
I guess you could pour some water in there and see. I've never even thought about that. Yeah. That's right. Weight is Be Driven says weight is weight, salt, or liquid, but I think he's just wanting to know, kind of like honey, it like 16 ounces of honey is like 11 liquid ounces. So I think that's kind of what he's asking is.
See how that looks in there then?
Yeah. Yeah.
It shrinks down. I would say it's probably
2 or 3,
90.
98%.
Yeah, well, I would probably go about 95% of.
But if that's 5 ounces, then how many liquid ounces is that? Like if you put liquid like water in there and you see how many ounces of liquid are in there, I think that's what he's asking. Kind of like honey. A pound of honey is 11 point something ounces of liquid. It's a, you know,
This is my water.
like a 16-ounce pint jar is 24 ounces in weight of honey. I think that's kind of what he's asking.
Yeah.
Is what's the ratio? What's the comparison?
I don't know.
But you could, I guess you could estimate it with your bottle there. You could just pour a little bit of water in there and see.
I know I was going to do that, but that's my drinking. That's my
Oh,
drinking.
yeah. Anyway, that would be a great experiment for you, Steven. You could try
That's
that
good.
out and see if you're interested. I don't know, and we would have to test it, and I don't know that we're really set up to do that right now. But the right question, I may try that just for fun. Yeah, get out the measuring cup and
Measuring cup out.
pour a little bit in there and see what happens.
Frank can do that. I'm not going to do that. Frank can do it. Yeah.
Who's Frank?
That's who put that comment in there.
Oh, I thought it was okay.
That's the same Galloway. He's a mysterious man. So let's see here. I'm trying to scroll up and see comments or questions. I mean,
Look at Bees in the Abyss. Look at Kevin. It was at 8 o'clock.
where
It's up a little ways. It's just a little ways. Right at 8 o'clock. It's up a little ways in the chat.
Joanne just walked in and asked, "Where's the cute guy?" If let me scroll up to that. That's hilarious. That right there is hilarious.
We need to share this with Susie as well.
Oh,
can't share with Greg because he might get a big head that way.
Right.
He might get a little too cocky if he knows what Joanne thinks of him. But
yeah,
I definitely could get that because I wouldn't consider myself to be in that category. So somehow I snookered my wife into marrying me. I'm not sure how that happened, but I would never say I would classify in that.
I wore mine down after many years. Oh man,
there was a day back when I had hair when I could kind of hold my own, but now I don't have any claim.
Yeah, Philip here. 16 ounces of water by weight is equal to 16 ounces by volume. Water is the standard for weight and measure. Well, so there you go.
So Philip, if you take 16 ounces of beeswax, like weight, this is 16 ounces, a 1 pound thing of beeswax, it will be 16 ounces of liquid if you put water in there. It would be the same. Oh. It might be, I don't know. You know what I need to do? What?
I'm gonna try something here. I got my little scale here. I'm gonna throw my little water on it.
I might just, you know what I think I'm gonna do? Can you keep talking, Brian? I don't know where Greg is. He was supposed to be in here by now, but we're trying to hold it down. But I'm gonna actually get a measuring cup and I'm gonna pour it in this thing and we're gonna settle this right now and see how much water goes in a 16.
That's heavy for this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually go get a measuring cup with a couple 2 or 3 cups of water in it, and I'm gonna pour it in here and see how much liquid goes in a pound mold of beeswax. I think that's what he was asking. So keep him talking. I'll be right back.
All right. Everybody had to talk. So, and Greg, Greg probably got tied up. So that's that. But I got to talk, people. So, there's some other news that you guys are going to find out here soon. Can't tell you all just yet. Don't want to talk about it just yet. But there's going to be some other stuff coming out here soon. So the one club that I go to, though, I am going to put in to be vice president. So I know I've said it before, but they're pretty gung-ho about wanting me to take that position. The current VP, she's spoken to me. She's like typed up an itinerary of things for me to do. Look at that. Where's that handsome guy at? He take Bitcoin. I don't know if Greg takes Bitcoin. Yeah. So yeah. See, sounds like you're well into your plans, DC saying. I don't know to who. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end up taking over like vice president for that one club. And I've kind of been looking at with all the beekeeping stuff, where I allocate my time. So I'm thinning out some things that I do and picking up others. So, Michael, I probably will, just because Greg, I know last year when I was there, he enjoyed myself and Jason being there. We helped out with the dial. We also helped out in his booth as well. And it kind of freed up where we were talking to customers and we were selling things for Nature's Image. It freed up Greg to do what Greg does. Greg is the face of Nature's Image. So I think that I probably will be there with Nature's Image again. So
Brian, should we do the experiment?
Sure thing, yeah. So Brian, in that honey warming cabinet video you did mushroom goat. Oh, Dean, yes. I've got tarragon oysters. I've got king oysters. I've got lion's mane growing now. I got a couple. So yeah, they're growing. So yeah, do it to it, Bruce.
Okay. So here's what I did. This is not scientific, so don't take this to the bank. But I've got 4 cups. This is a 1 pound mold for beeswax right here, and I've got 4 cups of water, which hopefully that'll be more than enough. So that 4 cups is 8 times, so that's 32 ounces of water, which is way more than 16 ounces of weight, right? I mean, wax is 16 ounces, right? So I'm going to tilt this down like this so you can see, and just know my computer keyboard is just on that side. I got it scooted back a little bit. So anyway, I don't know how it's going to work. We're going to try it though. So I'm going to fill this thing up. We're going to see how many ounces of water it is. If he was wondering about liquid ounces, this should answer your question the way I'm thinking the question was answered. So here we go. We're going to pour it in here. Fill it up.
Here we go. I got to make this bigger. That way we can see it.
Filling it up. It's about, let's see, we got it. Make sure. Hold on. A little more. That's full right there. And we have, it's hard to see. Hold on. We have about, so there were, let's see, 32 fluid ounces in the cup. Now we got about 12 ounces, approximately 12 ounces of water left in the cup. So what, 20 ounces of water of liquid in 1 pound of beeswax, 16 pounds per weight. So, whatever that means. So 20 ounces of water, fluid ounces in 1 pound of beeswax is what that equaled out to. So I don't know. Does that make sense? I hope that experiment makes sense to everybody, what I did there. That was how I interpreted the question. I hope that was right. So I don't know. What do y'all think about that? Was that the best way to do that test? That's the only way I could think of to do it. 16 ounces in weight, 1 pound, 20 ounces of water in the mold for 1 pound of beeswax. Maybe that answers your question. And then for as far as ratios go, you can just figure it out however you want. So I guess 8 ounces of beeswax would be 10 ounces of liquid would be my understanding of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that test, that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to set this over here, and I'm probably going to spill it. So I got to get it away from my keyboard. Okay,
he's going to spill it.
Now it's away from my keyboard.
Yeah, he's going to spill it. So Justin here has a good question. Considering picking up the speed fill, that I have and I do the videos on, I think that darn video is that thing's creeping up to like 8,000 views on it. That speed fill.
Wow.
So does the honey need to be heated before you use it? No. That thing, I believe they say it will pump creamed honey, I think, as long as it's primed. Like I've had some honey that was in a bucket, not heated. I basically look at it. It's not crystallized any, and it'll fill it. It's just a little slower. I always anymore, just because of how slow that was, I always put the bee blanket, like that bucket warmer, on whatever bucket that I'm going to heat, or whatever honey I'm going to bottle, and it's super fast. So it's either that or I've got a that heated. Oh God, my mind went blank. My bottling tank. I've got that tank that I can, it keeps it at, I think I have it at 102 right now. So all of the honey that I have is a little bit heated, but it doesn't have to be, Justin. So, and it's a good machine. I mean, I have not had any complaints with that machine. So, and Michael says new speed fills being advertised as having heavier duty internals. Yeah. Now, so I do know, so Justin, there is that speed fill. I've seen a couple different products out there right now. So I'm not like, 100% like, hey, I don't have a contract. I'm not tied to anybody. Bug Farmer has one that is very, very similar, that has a couple other features on it that I'm very interested in. So on the speed fill that John has, and like the one that I have, you have to prime it from the tube up top. The one that Bug Farmer has, I don't know where he got them. I talked to him, I didn't ask. There is a little priming port right on the side motor. So there's a couple different things in the unit that he has that I like. And then the one that he has 6 preset options. The speed fill has 4. Now, I've never had a problem with it. It's very easy to program. So when I switch over from like glass to plastic, whatever I'm doing, if I'm beyond like the 4 presets, it literally, it takes me under a minute to reprogram one of the settings. So it is a fantastic machine. I can't complain. And I've done like my honey this year. When I did bottle, I told my wife, I mean, it was throughout a day. I had a slow day at work. And I think in like an hour, I probably had 100 jars bottled, lids on, everything. So it's like, the automatic feature on that thing. Basically, if you had someone sitting there with you, you could do it super fast. But like if you're an individual like myself, you basically set a bottle on there, it fills it. I had a little basket with lids sitting there, and I would literally put the next jar on, and then I would take a lid, and by the time I had that lid tightened on and would set it to the side, that jar was done. So it's literally just a constant movement. Now, like what Bruce has with the no drip valve, that works exceptionally well also, where I think the benefit where you get into a machine is I don't have to pay attention to it. So I can be turning and tightening a lid, it's filling. So, you have a little bit more freedom, I guess, in your bottling workflow, so to say. But yeah, they work really well. So I can't complain about that darn thing. So Bruce, I'll get you to get one of them.
Maybe someday. It's not high on the priority list yet. But
yeah, and like I said, the only thing that it would, because I've seen
yeah,
yours.
it makes sense what you said. I haven't thought of that before. But
yeah, I have seen how fast you do bottle, but
yeah.
for like, let's say I have an hour and I need to get a certain quantity done,
Mhm.
your like, let's say your tank you can bottle maybe a second faster than what the speed fill does, but then you have to take into consideration that time where, okay, you're stopped because you're putting the
Yeah.
lid on,
Yeah, I
and it's
usually bottle
kind
up
of,
a certain number and then I put all the lids and labels on and then I bottle up more and then
yeah,
I put, I'll say, okay, I'm going to do a dozen or 20 or whatever that number is
yeah,
just to fill up my workspace here. I'll fill up. If I got a huge order, I'll just say I'll do, well, my baskets, like the square bottles I use for Appleton Farms, they'll hold 20 bottles or
yeah,
20, 25 bottles, look, 20, 25. And they all hold those are pound and a half bottles. They're tall and skinny. And then the regular 1 pound bottles that holds 20. So I just say I'll do a basket at a time. So I'll do 20 or 25, whatever size bottle I'm using, enough for a basket. And then I stop, put the lids on, label them, and do the next batch. And so it goes fast, but I can see what you're talking about. How if you can go ahead and knock out the bottling and the lid at the same time just as
yep.
fast, then that does make sense. But
Well,
I just, yeah,
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
you literally, while the next jar is filling,
Yeah, it makes sense.
I've got the lid on that jar.
Yep, that makes sense. I like it. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's a
Yeah,
good thought because it cuts off, it weighs, it cuts it off at exactly whatever the weight you want is.
and
Okay.
I just went and got also, there is an attachment that John offers with that speed fill. It slides down over that back, like guide rail, and it basically is like a Y, and you can set it so that you basically don't even have to look when you slide the jar onto the plate. It basically, I mean, you just put the jar on there, and you line it up with the spout, so there's no guesswork on, is the jar underneath of the spout. It was like, I think the thing was like $12 or something like that, and I thought that makes pretty good sense there. So I thought, well, let me get one that's $12, and it did help out because there were times before where I was off just a hair, and it would dump it down this, halfway in the jar and halfway out. Well, I got that new little arm thing that he has, and it works exceptionally well. So I'm really happy
Cool.
with it. I mean, I literally slide the jar in there, and then I got the other one I'm putting the lid on. So it's a smooth kind of fluid operation now, I could say, with that machine.
Awesome. I know a lot of people like them.
Oh yeah.
I think Brian Lee might have one, if I'm not mistaken. I think he really likes it. So I've heard good things about it. I just got so many other things I'm doing that I just haven't really focused on that, but maybe in the future I'll
Yeah.
do that. I've got a good place right here to bottle honey, but it's not ideal really. There's just not a lot of room. And so, it's a lot of it because I have my wax operation right here, a bottling operation right there, and then whatever junk is sitting right here in between. You got lids here, wax molds here, and just other stuff all over the place. And so I don't have a huge workspace, and I need to clean it up a little bit, but it works fine for me. So, but yeah, I definitely think that would be something in the future. If I get to where I am doing hundreds of bottles, so that's not an excuse. But yeah, I need to do that probably, but it'll be a little while down the road for me probably because I've got some other projects coming up that are going to be
Yeah.
quite pricey, as in probably thousands of dollars, and so I need to kind of focus on some of that.
Yeah. And, I'll tell you,
The word expansion comes to mind, although that's kind of crazy for me to do that, but
for me though,
every time you expand, every colony you expand, you have to buy all the equipment for a new colony, and that gets
right.
pricey. And so, frames, boxes, all that stuff. And so I'm kind of and two, as people, if they know they've watched my channel, I've got a lot of old equipment that's starting to kind of fall apart, and so I want to replace some of the old equipment, and I want to replace it with really good stuff. The Nature's and the Endura Hive stuff, and so
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay a little more for that, but it should last me for a long time. So that's kind of I'm at that point in my beekeeping journey where I used to just get the least expensive stuff I could get, build my own stuff, and just try to get everything and it's worked well for me. But now I'm to the point to where I've got a little money saved up. I've made a little bit of money in order to be able to buy the nicer stuff that's going to last me longer. And down the road, not have to worry about having holes, extra entrances in my colonies quite as much for the bees. And so bees love it, but it kind of, you know, every time we harvest, we have to cycle some boxes out because they're just falling apart. And ultimately, I like to have stuff that's not going to fall apart. But you know, it is what it is, and that's all part of it.
Yeah. I may, depending on like how my colonies and that do, you know, I'll March, April next year, I'll know. But if I end up like right around the 20 colony mark, I think next year there's going to be some equipment change in my operation. So just as far as like my honey, the honey extracting end of things, I think I'm going to end up like my 9-frame extractor. I think I'm probably going to end up going up to like a 20 or something like that. I'll have to, you know, if I end up anywhere close to 20 colonies and let's say I throw 2 supers on each one, if I've got to do say 30 supers,
it's a game changer, man. You get a bigger extractor because
yeah,
you can, you know, it takes quite a fair amount of time just to run it and then to unload it and load it. And I guess maybe theoretically it's the same amount of time, but the less times you have to load it and unload it, the better, in my opinion. And so while it's running, you can be uncapping the next round, and then when that's done, you can just unload and load again. It's if you can do 20 at a time instead of having to keep stopping and starting with all the stuff, it just flows quicker. The more extractors you have, the extraction is what takes the most time, and so the fewer times that thing has to run, the better, if that makes sense. And it's just more efficient for your operation. A 20 to 24 frame extractor would probably be just the perfect size. 18 to 24, I guess. Some people sell 18 frames, some people sell the 20s. So yeah, I loved my little Maxant 20 frame extractor I had. We just outgrew it. But I love that thing. It was really effective. The only thing I didn't like about it was hard. You could only run half as many deep frames as you could medium frames in it because it wasn't real wide. The cylinder wasn't real wide. Yeah, I agree, Tom. I'm not sure. We thought he was going to be coming in about an hour ago. And he's not in here yet, so maybe he's not going to make it tonight.
You know, I think when you're dealing with Greg Burns, I think it's like we've hit it's like 3.5 years or so we've been doing this, and he's like, you know, the stream team isn't quite the dream team. So
yeah, he's just.
But you never know. I mean, people might just pop up at any moment.
There he is. There he is.
Look at this. You never know.
And here we are talking extractors. Look at that hat he's wearing. He must have been using that extractor.
Look at this. He's all like clean shaven and stuff too.
I know. Does he?
Holy!
Got him yeah, man. Look at that.
I don't know who you are.
Well, nothing's going right on the computer. The mic interface, all that stuff won't even turn on. My headphones aren't working, so I'm running off the webcam here. I didn't want you guys to think that we were breaking up or something. You know, I said 20 minutes, and it's been one thing after another. But
well, no, it's 9. It's 9:20, little after 9:20.
Hey, Brian. We gotta show him that comment earlier about.
Oh yeah.
Remember what Joanne said?
Yeah, was it?
Find that.
I'll find it.
No, Greg, we don't want you to get a big head here. You gotta just take with humility.
I mean, look at this thing. Look how bald that thing is. There's no room for it to get big. It's already grown as big as it's going to get. Grew right through the hair.
We need to say, where's Susie?
Yeah, Susie doesn't need to see this.
There you go.
You see that, Greg?
Bees in the Abyss, Kevin. Joanne just walked in and asked, "Where's the cute guy?" If I were Brian and Bruce, I wouldn't talk to. Oh, that's funny. Thank you for that. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah.
Must be, you know, they're talking about, guys. You know, they're not talking about me. They're talking about the one, the only, Tom Stoessman.
Oh, you might be
My
right
feeling.
because he's been on with us a lot. Yeah, you might be
Exactly.
right about that.
You know, I mean, come on.
It could either be Tom or Keith was recently on too.
Yeah, Keith
I mean,
too.
it could be. I mean, why you automatically go to me? There's no way it's me.
Yeah.
Keith is his
Hi,
half
Tom.
tracks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Joanne needs to come
wow.
on. Joanne should come on here and clarify.
Wow. Look at that.
Your head grew right through your hair. That's a fact. Look at that thing.
Wow. So what's going on down in what, East Central Ohio?
Well,
Other than
here's
being
dinner. I'll show you. Here's what my dinner is tonight. Let's
Well,
see.
there you go. Yes, honey.
I got that going for me. You know, timing is everything, and it feels like you never have enough money, you never have enough time, and you certainly never have them both at the same time. And so it's just trying to get a bunch of stuff done, trying to get the last of the supers ran through the equipment and get put on. We got a bunch of really exciting queen trials that we're getting ready to launch next week, and so we're getting colonies ready, getting supers pulled off, getting ready to make a bunch of probably about another 100 to 120 splits.
Ooh.
And so we're getting everything ready for that. And this is a very long format idea, so I'm going to spare you guys the details here at the moment. But I learned something from a very early mentor. And a lot of folks don't know this, but whoa, boy, look at that guy.
What happened there?
Look like an immature groundhog is what this looks like here. Good night.
But hey, man, Kevin did clarify that you were the cute one, according to that.
Oh,
so
I don't know what
it can
to
be
say.
self-deprecating, but yeah.
Nah, we'll go with Tom.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm blushing here. I don't even know what to say to that. What were we talking? Let's see. Let me. I'll share my dinner with you here.
You're doing 450 splits.
Splits and queens and getting. Oh, okay. Here's where I was going with this. So, do we have? What time is it here? 9:30. We probably don't have time for story time. But let's see. Let's see how well folks think they know us. All right. Let's do this in the comments here. If you know how I got into beekeeping, then leave that in the comments. How did Greg get into beekeeping? Leave that there in the comments, and we'll see. I can't go on with the story because if I go on with the story, it'll kind of give it away. Well, let's give it just a couple of seconds there. Hey, there it is, Mr. Dean Gettle, immature groundhog. Mr. Dean Gettle, hey man, I want to thank you for stopping by. Dean stopped by the shop, and we hooked him up with some bulk Pro Suite. But I got to say, the sweetest part about that visit was, I think, kind of the testimony him and I were sharing back and forth with each other. We always say bees are the conduit to the people. And it's an incredible blessing if it's bees or nukes or equipment that brings people to the farm is that connection point. But then we get to share our faith in the Lord. What a super, super neat thing. So Dean, I see in the comments there, sure was great to see you here at the farm. Another absolute in beekeeping, Greg doesn't have time for storytelling. Philip, I mean, that's a fact, Jack. I think I could just sit down and shoot videos where I just ramble on, and some of you guys get it. The older that I get, the more hair that I lose. I feel like I'm turning into my preacher grandpa, where everything that you look at in life is a sermon. Literally every single thing pops out and has meaning and has a story, and you see things deeper than you ever have before. You hear scriptures, you hear songs, you just life things go on. And so it's real hard for me to just keep it quick, keep it short. So, okay, let's check a couple. Susie, okay, that's true. Cedar Ridge, that Phil. Actually, I'm going to see Phil. I think Phil's coming out next week, I think. Phil's coming out for some equipment. We're going to get him some queens while he's here. And, oh, look at this. Dean knows traded bees for hogs. You guys are all getting like really, really, really super close. Greg got into beekeeping because his wife told him to. That is a fact. So, the closest one so far, guys, Larry and Marianne Sears also stopped by the farm not too long ago. It sure was good to see them. Marianne, a part of your homesteading. Okay, so I think we're getting close enough. So here's how we got into beekeeping. I've told a story several times. I usually only tell it when I'm giving talks at conferences, and I'll spare you all the details, but the Lord gave me a second chance in life. I walked away from a catastrophic accident that I shouldn't have. Everything changed. We decided it was time to get back out to the land, start from scratch, start fresh, ground zero, and so we did. And so in doing so, getting back to the land and learning agriculture and farming, I wasn't raised up in that. And so I had found something called permaculture, but the thing that clicked for me was something called restoration agriculture. It was looking at the current agricultural system and looking to find how we can create all these systems that are interlaced, that reduces the amount of waste, that all work together, that are all these little force multipliers, specifically for small scale, things that are 10 acres or less. Well, I ran across a book called Restoration Agriculture. That author is the one and only Mark Shepard. And what Mark Shepard was doing was taking a little bit larger landscapes and cutting swales, planting perennial trees, food forestry, creating a lot of biodiversity with the plants, which brings in the nature, which feeds the soil, which feeds the plants, which feeds the animals, which feeds nature. It's this beautiful cycle, right? But you got to start by creating that diversity first. Well, that's how originally that we got into the beekeeping thing, was through a organic, through a permaculture, through holistic agriculture, through that lens. That's how we started. That it was the natural beekeeping. It was the let the bees draw the comb. It was the let's try to not treat. Let's do all those things. That's how we got into beekeeping. And then, of course, when you start to gain more experience, you can kind of see what makes sense and where things are kind of going from you. That was a very long story for me to say. One of the greatest things that I'll never forget that I learned from Mark Shepard was the idea of sequences. And you might say, we just wasted 9 minutes of our life listening to Greg ramble on, the not so cute one. That's Tom. Talk about sequences. Like when you think of sequences, if you say, today, my goal is to finally get this last X amount of supers spun out and get everything ready to go. And then when I do that, I also want to make sure that I'm shooting video and capturing all that. Like that might seem like a very simple thing to do if you're like, whipping out an iPhone and it's just stationary and it's your stuff. But even then, it's not simple. It's still complicated because in your mind, you're thinking, okay, here's the shot that I want to see. We got to get the frames uncapped. We have to get them into an extractor. We have to get everything going, get the honey out of the extractor, filter it, go through all this process, all this sequence, and you start to put everything in place. And then you realize, oh man, there's a couple pieces I'm missing. Like number one, getting the equipment all set up where I want to shoot the video, getting the lights there, getting all of these little things, sequences. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's spinning honey, if it's putting your treatments on. I think in terms of not so much like labor days, I think of sequence events. And can I actually accomplish those in a day? So right now I'm stuck in a sequence mode because I tried to do too many things today. And what ended up happening is I'm in the 19th hour trying to get the last of the honey off. And so I had everything set up in a different area to spin all the honey, but I wanted to bring it into a better lit area so I could capture some video using all this incredible Maxant equipment. And sequence, that's the name of the game. You can't just go from point A to point B. There's all these little notches and things that have to line up that all build on each other so you can get from point A to point B. Bruce, you know it. Brian, you know it. There is just no little tiny task you do. It's always a series of sequences. And that's where my brain's at. There's a lot of sequences going on right now that are all stacking up. And when they can't get them done fast enough, it ends up being 9:30 before you can get to the StreamTeam Beekeeping chat an hour and 20 minutes later.
See?
Short story long.
I did a lot of sequencing with my honey harvest this year. Man, I thought about that for probably a couple of months beforehand, exactly how it was going to go down. Having all these people come in, all these wonderful people that help me out, and just trying to figure out logistically how to. I guess sequencing is another word almost for logistics. Getting everything lined up and ready to go, and then when the people show up, hopefully it goes as well as you think. And it went well, but had I not thought about it ahead of time, we would have been in a mess. And so that is very important to do, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Next year, I tell you, if things stay in the positive up in my yard, I'm definitely going to have to look at some different equipment, positioning things differently. I'm going to have to look at everything just because, like I said, for what I have now, it's worked well, but I'll just have such a bottleneck. So,
yeah, what I found and with honey harvest is there's always a bottleneck. You'll eliminate one bottleneck, and then that creates another bottleneck, and and it's not that it is all faster, but there's something you could do that would make it even faster, and so you're always looking to be more and more efficient. And with our setup, we've finally gotten to where we really don't have any bad bottlenecks. If everybody's working and all the equipment's working, which it worked really well, almost seamlessly in the summer harvest, everybody worked about as fast as we could, and we kept everything rolling. The only thing that Glade, actually, Utah B-Man, suggested was that we program the extractors so that we don't have to be watching them constantly. We can load them and we can let them go through a cycle, figure out what that perfect and most efficient cycle is to get the honey spun out without, to make sure it's all spun out properly. If we can get them programmed to do that, then we could really be even more efficient. But we pretty efficient watching them, but sometimes you'll move on to something else. That thing's spinning and spinning and spinning, and you could have had the next load in there, So that's one thing we may work towards. And the extractors we have are just, it's kind of complex, I think, to program them. And so I don't know if it is. We haven't tried because we just do it manually and it works well. But that's the only thing I can think of how we could really, with our setup, without going all in, almost becoming more automated, how we could really go a lot faster. And I don't know that would speed up that much, maybe just a little bit. But when you do 9,600 pounds in less than 12 hours, that's not too bad, I don't think. I was pretty efficient. Of course, it was because we had a great crew. Yeah. Without the crew, we couldn't have done it. You got to have people to keep everything, people to watch. People kind of gravitated towards jobs that worked best for them. And man, it was just something else. But Greg, what you're saying, I'm thinking about, anytime I have queens coming, it's that same thing, sequencing. Like the queens are coming on this day. The hives are, which hive, where am I going to go? Which BR do I want to go to first to be most efficient? And how do I want to do my splits? Or how do I want to find that queen that I want to replace? Or, what's the most efficient and effective way to do it and to do it right? And this, every little thing you do just splits in the spring, splits in the summer, everything you do, applying treatments, everything is sequencing. So that's a great way to look at it, Greg. I mean, I think we all know that, but I've never thought of it or just thought of the term sequencing but I'll have to remember that. That's a good idea. What are the sequences you have to do? And even like you said, setting up a video, if you're trying to show something, where does the camera need to be? What footage do you want? Everything you do in life, really, if it's a project you're trying to attack and tackle, if you want to do it the most efficient way, you have to get the sequence in your mind before you do it or on paper to be the most efficient you can be.
Well, you have to have beekeeping. It's a fantastic hobby. For me, I say it's a hobby. For Greg, beekeeping, it's the business. Bruce, for you, it's business. You're at the top end of a sideliner, but you have 100%. You have to have a plan. I've spoken to people before, and the topic was being a proactive beekeeper, not a reactive. When you have absolutely no plan, all you end up doing is you're forced to maintain this reactive role in your yard. If you have no plan, you're going to walk out and, well, I really didn't check that. Let me get in and, oh crap, well, something's wrong. So you're reacting to what you find. If you line everything up and you follow plans, it's a lot easier. You save yourself so many headaches.
Greg, you had someone on a while back. It was a young couple that's gone in commercial beekeeping. I can't remember what their names were. You had them on your chat. I think it wasn't on the stream team.
Tyler and Sarah Holton.
But I think it was him, and I think we've discussed this with several different people, but I think maybe Tom talks about this too, how I think Tyler, you say, he talked about how everything he does is planned out, like, to be the most efficient way. Like, before he ever enters it, every movement he makes is planned out to be most efficient and to save time. And I'm not super good at that, but I'm getting better at it. But honestly, every time you walk across a bee yard, even if it takes you 30 seconds, that you go there and back, that's a minute, and if you do it 10 times, that's 10 minutes. And if you do it, you know what I mean? It just adds up over time, and it may not seem like a lot when you're doing it, but it just really adds up. And every time you turn your body, or you have to go back to the truck to grab frames or to grab another box, everything you do. So that's part of being more efficient, is just trying to figure out and you learn to do that over time. You learn kind of what you need when you need it. So you show up at the BR, you got what you need. You can lay it out beforehand, but it's just if you just got a couple of hives, it is good to be efficient. But when you're trying to scale up, you have to, and that's something I'm getting better at. I'm still not where I need to be, but I'm getting better at it. So I'm still trying to figure that out, because I make a lot of trips back and forth to my truck each time I'm there that I probably don't need to do. But especially if you forget something, you have to go back to the barn where all the equipment is. That's really aggravating. Then if you're 10 minutes away, you have to drive back to grab something. So
that's one of the reasons why I got the bag that I carry when I do my inspections. It has my marking pens, it has clips, cages. I've got about 10 hive tools in there. I've got gloves in there. I've everything in there. So it just, in my mind, I wanted to basically make the entire process easier than what I had. I complicated, like when I very first started beekeeping, everything was complicated. And I've spoken about this before too, just about standardizing. That bag that I have, literally now when I do my inspections, it's sitting right next to my Apisolus. So I grab my Apisolus off the charger. I grab my bag. My jacket is hanging right there. So everything is within about 3 feet of each other. I've got my jacket, my bag, my Apisolus, and I can walk straight out.
Speaking of sitting and trying that, I'm getting to the age where leaning over is hard on my back and kneeling is hard on my knees. So it's getting to where physically it's a little tough. So I saw Mike Berry do something in a video, and it kind of got my brain thinking a little bit. He turned he's got a 7-frame Apame lid he used and sat on it. But Greg, did you ever milk cows, Greg, growing up? Have you ever milked cows?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Did you ever see, my dad made one of these. He had it was like he took a fence post and he had like a board on top of it, and he just used that. He put it up under his butt and he sat down. It's like a T. Yeah. So he could just move that thing around from cow to cow and from angle to angle. I thought about doing something kind of like that for the bee yard, real lightweight, just a little seat.
Some of them have a strap around it, be like a belt, and so it'll get some. I've seen milkmaid setups where they were old. It looked just like that. It was nothing but a maybe about a 10 or 12-inch leg with a pedestal that had a leather strap around it that just it went on, and you strapped it on, and you sit down on that. Some folks, one of the things that folks say if we meet for the first time, they say, "Holy cow, you're way taller in person than you look just looking at a screen." Well, I'm 6'2". I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a husky guy. I weigh about 270. So I say all that meaning I'm a long way from the ground. And so to bend over to work singles is excruciating. I mean, you can only go so far, and then your back is locked up and you can't move up because your lower back is hurting so bad. What I've learned to do is you got to work on core strength, number one, but work smarter, not harder. And there are times where I'll be on my knees. But my favorite thing to do is we've got, I'll take our 8-frame Propola assembled boxes. They're glued, they're stapled, they're dovetailed, and they're wax dipped. And I will always carry those on the truck. And so I will take that 8-frame wax dipped assembled box, and that's my stool.
Yeah.
And that is so nice to rock and to move around. 8-frame for me is like perfect. 10-frame works. A 10-frame deep, it's a little bit high. But if I just take an 8-frame deep, and sit on it long ways, it takes you longer to get through each colony, but I can work yard after yard after yard from sun up to sundown and have zero back problems. Yeah. If I do that. And you get into a rhythm, you can actually move pretty quick. But you've got to do things like that eventually. There are certain nationalities that are in the beekeeping industry, let's say, that are way shorter to the ground. So they're not, the sun doesn't bother them as much, and the being high from the ground, it doesn't affect them either. They're more tailored to just get in there and do a lot of that too, which I've neither of.
I actually, last time I was out there, I used the 5-gallon bucket with the lid on it, or you can flip it upside down. That's a pretty good height too. That works well. But anyway, yeah, I'm just, the older I get, I've had some back issues most of my life. And so I just get stiff. I do much better on my knees than I do trying to stand up and lean over, if it's double deep, or if it's like when I'm working honey supers and stuff like that. If it's stacked up, it's not a problem. But if I get down to a single deep, I gotta get closer to them. Like I'm either on my knees or on a stool or on a bucket or I do tip bee boxes up too sometimes and do it that way. But
it's not just getting the old thing though.
It's important, Greg. Yeah, it's important, Greg. Though you said listen to your body. You mentioned that before, and
yeah,
that back starts to tighten up on you. You got to take care of it. But yeah, it's not an age thing. Though. I mean, if it's you mentioned before, some people are not as tall and they're closer to the ground, and they're, like you said, they're maybe more accustomed to working to things close to the ground. But I'm 6 feet, and so I have a similar problem. I have a similar problem. Yeah, Brian, you're about 6 feet tall, also, aren't you?
5'11".
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, it's let's just finish up this thought real quick, because it doesn't matter if you're 18 or if I'm only 43. I'm maybe I'm younger than both you guys. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe about the same age. But I teach my kids this too, and they pick it up, and they're more productive. Like little tiny things that like one thing that's driving me crazy right now. I'm not going to name any names, Jake. But one of the stainless toolboxes got ripped off from underneath of the flatbed, right? And it was on the passenger side of the 1-ton truck, of the dually. And it was in a perfect spot where we are constantly throwing straps over, whether it's skids of equipment, box moving colonies in and out. And you get into a routine, right, of how your straps are wrapped, the ratchets that you use. You throw the strap over the other side, you hook on, you boom, you go. And so we've tried to get into the habit of doing things the same way every single time. So we will throw the straps over, but I like the ratchets to be on the passenger side. So if a strap ever comes loose, or if I got an issue with the load, I can pull off on the shoulder, and then the actual ratchet side is in the shoulder, not in traffic, right? Well, what's really handy is when your truck box for all your straps is right there on the passenger side. But right now there is no truck box there. It's $1,200 to fix it. So that's going to have to wait. So all my truck boxes are on the driver's side. So here I am walking ratchets all the way around, and then when you undo your load, I hook them on the rail of the passenger side, and then and you got to carry. It's just all these little steps, right? Yeah, I can grab all the straps and just take one loop around the truck to do it, but if the truck box was right there, it's one less rotation I have to make. That might seem ridiculous. And you're thinking, well, don't be lazy, Greg. Well, when you load the truck a certain way and you're doing it for efficiency, when you pull in and fuel a certain way, when you are working your hives a certain way and you're parking a certain distance from your rows of colonies a certain way, when you have a certain sequence of events on how you crack a lid, where you place the lid, how you set a box off, how you go through the frames, all those things not only add up into seconds and minutes, but every motion of an elbow, a wrist, a finger, a hand, a shoulder, everything, it takes energy. And we have fuel economy too. It takes a certain amount of energy to be able to do all those things. And no matter what we do, no matter if we're running on Red Bull constantly, a constant Red Bull drip all day, your body still can only do so much before you get to the very end of the day and it says, I really can't do anymore. What I like is to be able to put a long, full 14-hour day in. And when I get done, I feel like I've still got some mileage left in the tank. I don't want it to be flashing on E and empty and have been like that. You know the game you play when you're out of fuel, and when the fuel light comes on and it no longer tells you your range, you know that I've got 90 miles before I'm sucking air, or whatever your vehicle might be, 30 miles before I've got to get to a station. Like, I don't like to push myself till the fuel light's on. I prefer to be able to be in that half a tank or at least a quarter of a tank left, because sometimes, and it happens too many times, you think you're at the end of the day, and then that one more thing happens. And if you are already spent and you're on fumes and you've got nothing left in the tank, and that thing happens, and it's 15 minutes till dark, and it's a big major deal that you've got to shore up, you've got hardly anything left to do it. The headache comes on, the nausea comes on, the dizziness comes on. You start to make poor choices. You can't think straight. Now you got to get that thing done. And then you still have to finish strapping your load and get everything back home. So trying to not leave yourself on empty, leave a little left in the tank, all that stuff matters on how you start the day. Getting that sleep the night before, waking up, taking care of your routines, and making good decisions. It's funny we say decisions, Brian. Did you see what I know Brian did, but you see what today's devotion was for the 31st?
Oh yeah.
Brian's got the same one.
Well, I didn't look at the 31st.
Well, the 30th. I mean, I had my thing marked for tomorrow already, but
yeah, decision making.
The 30th. Let me quickly read this, because this ties specifically in to sequences, Brian, because in all these sequences that we are aligning and prioritizing and getting ready to go, we're making decisions constantly, all the time, based on those things. So I would not be the only one to say that we're in the midst of making some very important, very course-changing decisions with business, with life, and all those things. And it absolutely blows my mind away how many times you open up your Bible or your devotion and the thing in there right there is exactly what you needed in that moment. Brian, can I read this real quick?
Oh,
20 seconds. Okay, so check this out. Today's devotion, I'm thinking, as I'm sitting down to do this, I'm thinking, all right, I got to make some tough calls. I got to figure out how to do all these things. And it's like you start getting into the I'm going to figure this thing out thing, and you get into this little habit, and you pull open, it says decision making.
Yeah.
Does God guide my decision making? And all of a sudden you're thinking, ooh, is this a me thing? Is this a God thing? Who's driving this decision making boat? Right? And it says right here, pray for God to give you the desire to seek his guidance and then to follow it. When you do, you'll be able to make decisions that please him. God doesn't want to hide his will from you. He's not playing games with you. He wants to give you guidance. You just need to ask and then listen when he speaks. We're very easy to ask for stuff. God, can you help me with this? Or God, I just, right? But we have a really hard time listening when we're just going on. And so here's God's response to that. And this is scriptural based. Who are those who fear the Lord? He will show them the path that they should choose. That's Psalms 25:12. Here's another one. Learn to be wise and develop good judgment. Don't forget or turn away from my words. That's Proverbs 4:5. I like this one. God is working in you, giving you the desire to obey him and the power to do what pleases him. That's Philippians 2:13. And here's God's promise as far as decision making. Seek his will in all you do, and he will direct your paths. Proverbs 3:6. Anyways, if you haven't already, this is one of my favorites, 1 Minute with God. I love that. It seems like I can't tell you how many times. I know there's been StreamTeam events and things where there was some major things going on, and we open it up to that day, and then there was a thing, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
But making decisions, how are you making those decisions? What is helping you form your sequence of events or your problem solving or those steps that you're going to take? I can tell you it's a lot easier when you trust that God's got that answer and that direction and help you with those sequence of events. So
It's funny because, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, not just yet. People will learn soon. But yesterday, there was a big decision that I made, and
yeah,
and it's okay, and everything's okay. Nothing health related, anything like that. It's just I'm looking at certain things, certain hobbies that I do, certain activities, and I need to thin in certain areas so that I can put my time where it's more needed. So it's just, life. Sometimes you have to make these difficult decisions, and it's hilarious that then I open that up and I'm looking at that and I'm like, man,
God's got a sense of humor, I think.
I know. I was just chuckling. I'm like, look at this. Look what I read here today. Oh man. It's all good though, Bruce, there's a question for you.
Right.
When you fill the buckets from the extractor, do you use a coarse strainer? My bottleneck is my extractor fills the buckets too fast than faster than his strainer. He has to stop and wait.
Yeah, I think if I'm picturing what
Hop
he's talking
strainer.
about is those little double strainer,
Hop
those double metal strainers, which I didn't use those very long. Some people use them. I'm amazed they can continue to use them as long as they do. We actually do have basically it's a similar principle, but we don't use those. For years, we just put it into a paint strainer, like in a 5-gallon bucket, and that strains it just about right for the honey is still I would call it raw. It gets all the chunks out, and it's just perfect. You only have to strain it once. But what we started doing when I started doing my extractions of Rusty is we started using these metal strainers you can get like for just for your kitchen. Metal strainers. They're the what do they call it? The microns is pretty big. So this the big chunk gets the big chunks out, and we get several of those. And so we have at each extractor we might have 3 or 4 buckets that have those sitting on top. So when they start to fill up, they do fill up with wax. We just move it to the next side and put the next bucket under there. And then we dump it into we have a big, Rusty has, I think it's a 50-gallon, 40 to 50, maybe even 55-gallon tank with a spigot on the bottom of it. And we put 2 hop spiders in there. They're 600 micron. And so it gets the rest of the chunks out of there pretty good. And it's perfect. The hop spiders, if you don't know what that is, Brian, do you have yours close by, or you probably don't have it close by, do you?
I don't.
But a hop spider is actually well, I've got this is it's in here with my wax, but this is the type of strainer we use on the 5-gallon buckets, bigger ones, but this type of thing right here to get the initial wax out. And then we pour it through a hop spider. It goes into that big tank, and then we just put it right in. It's perfect. And so it works well. If you're just doing a few buckets, I would say just go get you some 5-gallon paint strainers. That's what a hop spider looks like right there. See, it's got the screen all the way around. And they've got different sizes. The ones we get are the 7-gallon ones, but they've got smaller ones that would probably work in a 5-gallon bucket, and they work really well. They do get clogged up over time, but you can just move so much faster. Those double strainer things, there's not a lot of volume in there. You can't put a lot of honey in there, and they do clog up quickly. And one option, if you want to use those still, is just to get a bunch of them, but they're pretty expensive. And you can have one on several buckets rotating them through, but you have to clean them constantly. But if you watch my recent video, if you watch videos from like 2 or 3 years ago, you'll see where we use the paint strainers, our system with that on Bruce's Bees on our channel. Just go to the honey harvest playlist. And then the last 2 years, you'll see kind of how we've moved our operation through a little more efficient. But the hop spider has been a game changer for us. It works extremely well.
Yep.
And so,
and what I do with those things is, look at this. I got balloons and stuff now. Justin, what I do is I leave my gate on my extractor. It basically is wide open.
Yeah.
I'll fill the bucket, and then I've got 2 hop spiders, and then I'll basically have one. It's in the bullpen, and when that bucket fills up, I slide it over, and I slide the empty bucket over, and then I'll just lift up the hop spider from the filled bucket. And I mean, it's drained down in, I don't know, 5 or so minutes.
You put it in another bucket for it.
I will. I'll let it drip, drain out as much as what possible. And then I just transfer that then to an empty bucket.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just a constant.
Yeah, because it's gonna be draining through. So that's that can be
Yep.
So it's just something you got to play with. But like I say, a cheaper option. We use paint strainers for years. You can just put paint strainers in buckets, and you can just cycle them through. And then, but the problem is then getting it out of the paint strainers. You got to hold those paint strainers up somehow. And over time, that wears your arm out too. But we did that for years too. So there's many ways to do it. But no, we do use the coarse strainer coming out of the extractor into the 5-gallon buckets, and then we just pour that honey through the hop spiders, and that gets the thicker stuff out. But we probably wouldn't even have to do that. We just kind of do that from tradition, and it does get the big chunks out, the bigger stuff out. So it does drain more efficiently through the hop spiders. Now spring honey here is real thick, and so it's a lot slower with that. It just doesn't drain as quickly. And plus, it's usually cooler in May when we do our May harvest. But in the summertime, when it's hot and the honey's not quite as thick, it just flows constantly. If you watch my most recent video of our honey harvest, you'll see what our setup was, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
There's another option too, which is it's actually a hybrid of both. I just started using them this year, and it's the Maxant Pale Pal. I don't know how it actually works as well as it does, but it's a 300 micron filter bag that goes over top of the cylindrical Pale Pal itself, and it fits right on top of the bucket. What I like about it is you've got your uncapping tank wide open the whole time, your extractor wide open the whole time, and
squirrel.
What was that?
I mean, deer. Brian's been doing that all night. He'll just
I thought it was a heart. Okay. Oh, that's a big one.
Man.
Yeah.
Greg, there's been a 10. There's been a 10 at my feeders.
Nice. He'll be there and tease you until it smells like fall, and then he always tend to move. But I hope he stays for you. But what I'm using this year is first we've switched over we got all of the let's just say we've switched over to 100% American-made equipment, like all of it is. The stainless, the motors, electric, everything on it is made in America. There's nothing else like it on the market, including the Pale Pal. And it's a really neat device that goes over top of a 5-gallon bucket with the strainer. Oh, yeah. You can pull the strainers off and put new ones on. However, I'm still on the first strainer. I haven't even had to replace it yet. For whatever reason, when the actual nylon bag sucks down onto the mesh of that Pale Pal, the way that it lays there, the cappings just they build up, but it still continues to drain better than anything that we had. When you're done, you just pick it up and move it over to the next bucket. So I like the paint strainer worked great, and Bruce had that recommendation. But eventually, you after pulling that up
Get
and either
tired of it, yeah.
squeezing or hanging it, I mean,
it gets old.
you have to create your own little process to do that.
Yeah.
With these
Absolutely.
pail pals, you just really pop it off the bucket. It goes on to the next one, and you're done, and it keeps going. I think we can cycle. I mean, probably 400 or 500 pounds of honey easily before we have to even consider moving cappings away or off to the side or just scoop them out real quick. But what I like about the bag is you can just scoop off those cappings and keep using that same bag over and over and over again. So I've really been enjoying that. And being that it's getting 300 microns right off the cut, what is actually going into the bucket is just, I mean, it's beautifully clear. After it sits for a day or two in a bucket, there's very little, like very, very little debris at all that floats to the top there. So you haven't seen, most folks have never even heard or seen of a pail pal. But we just shot some video today of using, I mean, just some incredible equipment, including that. So I think a lot of folks are going to start seeing the kind of quality that's out there with the Maxant line of equipment. And a lot of folks haven't really seen a whole lot from them. Bruce has a very solid, reliable piece of equipment. You're not going to find another bottling tank like that. So it's going to be pretty neat to be able to share our journey with some of this equipment. So the Pail Pal, check that out. So there's on our website, there's photos. You can check it out there too. But you'll be seeing a lot more of that in some videos. And I'm sure it's only a matter of time before one of these American knockoff companies will try to buy one of those and send it off to China. And if not already, that's just the way the American honey equipment game goes.
And then we'll see, instead of the Pale Pal, we'll see the Pale Buddy.
Pale Buddy, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Bucket Buddy. Yeah. Patent pending, but yeah. Don't get me started on that. I'm supposed to stay calmer when it comes to all of the phony USA marketing stuff.
2 hours here. What's going to be going on in the next week at Bruce's Bees? Greg, you're gonna be in a second here because I know you're the long-winded one, buddy.
Me? How dare you?
I've got some bee yards that are growing up. I need to kind of get them weeded or kind of cleaned out a little bit. I'm gonna just kind of go check and see how they're looking overall. Just pop some lids. Not a lot of bee work. I may get into the ones where I put the new queens in and just see if they're queen right. If I see the queens, I want to mark them, but I don't want to wait because I made big splits, like 10 frame splits, and so I don't really want to have to wade through all the bees. I may look quickly for the queen, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking for her. But I do want to just look and see if I have eggs. Check my queen acceptance rate from the queens I introduced about 12 days ago now. They should all be released now and doing their thing. Hopefully they'll have a good acceptance rate. I have historically the one mistake or the one thing I failed to do because I didn't get prepared sequence wise, Greg, efficiently. I did not feed them liquid feed when I put them on there. However, I do think there was some sort of little nectar flow. The cotton was beginning to bloom. They seemed happy. They weren't really irritable that day, and they weren't real robby in most of the places I did those queens. So hopefully with whatever nectar, whatever's coming in, they're going to be okay. They had weight. Most of them had plenty of weight, plenty of food, plenty of honey on there, but that's not the same as nectar or syrup coming in. So I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't do it. I just wasn't able to get that going. So we'll see what happens. But I think they're going to be okay. That's my goal. See what the queen acceptance rate was, or at least try to peek in on them. Maybe if I get a chance to clean some of the bee yards up a little bit. The Midland City bee yard tends to grow up a lot. It's just basically we dropped beehives where it had not been touched for years out there. So we had to kind of push the weeds down. And I went through and bush hogged out there a couple of months ago before the honey harvest, and then last time I was out there making those splits, it's growing up again. So I want to keep that down better. I have let it get out of control a little bit last year or two, but I'm going to try and do better. So anyway, just going to kind of do some peeking and checking and see what I got. Not going to do a lot of bee work. Just going to, I'm sure I'll be out there quite a while, just going through the different bee yards, but don't have a lot of major manipulations to do this weekend. Just going to kind of peek and check and scratch that beekeeping itch a little bit, get out there and just kind of see how they're doing. Good
deal. Well, Greg, I'll be done in about a minute, buddy. So, Nancy,
Take your time, but hurry back,
I
Brian.
got a few questions for you. Can you email me? Nancy, yeah, just get my email. It's on my page. Just email me, and I always have my email. It's attached to my phone. So just
Speaking
send
of
me-
Nancy, she had me on her. They had a chat last night. It was kind of fun. I went in there for a few minutes. So
Oh,
it
I
was
would
kinda-
call
kinda
Brian
cool.
directly. Just 867-5309. Brian Cooper, 867-5309.
867-5309.
See, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
like
don't know.
said,
I don't know if Nancy's
go
old
ahead.
enough to know that song, but she might.
86. Yeah, you've got to. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
But no, I'm excited. Saturday is going to be, the day where I'm really going to get into all my colonies and see how they're doing. I know I need to get some feedback on them here soon, just because the other day when I went to do my last treatment, I didn't have any other syrup with me. And there were, like I said, a couple buckets were out. So they sucked. Greg, you weren't on, but I had quite a number of my colonies. They devoured an entire bucket in 4 days.
Wow,
They were hungry.
that's insane. That's
Yeah.
quick. That's
And I mean,
fast.
they were moody. My bees had been a little temperamental. And like I said, when I put the syrup out, they were on it within minutes. So, we hit that dearth up here, and I mean, it's expected. It's that time of the year. But I'm going to keep the feed going on them until, our flow picks up. And I have no supers on, so it's all good. It's all fine. But I'm going to do a good assessment in the yard. And if there's anything, like there's one colony, like I said, that was going through the process, if they're, if I need to secure a queen for one colony, I could probably do that. But 18 is going to be the number that I think, I think I'm going to end up going into the winter with that. So, but it's going to be good. But, and I will say, like, I think it went like 2 weeks. I didn't have a video. It's just when it's hot, when it's 90 plus degrees and the heat index is in triple digits, I really don't want to film. It's just, I get out there, do my thing real quick. I don't want to like dilly dally filming and doing all that stuff. So I will have more video coming up this weekend. And I've been saying that I have this funny feeling about this fall flow. Greg, you've heard me saying it. After today, at least up here, tomorrow's high is 74, next day 76. So now we do have some days in the low 80s, but I don't think in the next 10-day forecast we're above 85 up here. And we do have rain and stuff though also. So I've been saying, I'm like, and I was standing out in the yard today, that little cluster of goldenrod that I look at every fall, it looks really good. It probably looks better than what I've ever seen it. So just it looks there's none of the petals and that coming off of it. None of them have any specks of brown on them. They're just solid green, clear up. So, but that's going to be it. And I'm going to film Saturday. I may end up splitting it into 2 videos just because it's going to be a lot of content. I'm going to go through 18 colonies. But it'll be good. So that's what I got coming up in the next week. So, and Friday, I don't know. It's going to be somewhat bee related, but not entirely bee related. Friday, I'm going to chat with. I'm going to have an hour or so to chat with Joel Salatin.
Wow, that's the biggest name
I
that any
can't wait for
beekeeper channel has ever probably had. That's probably the biggest get ever.
Yeah. I just,
Wow, that's gonna be awesome.
I recently, and not to keep going down the rabbit hole of this, but the wife and I, we recently got the Angel Network. We canceled out like some of the subscriptions we had, and we were looking and we're like, hey, the Angel Network, it's all decent movies. and I watched on there the Lunatic Farmer, and I've seen stuff that he's done before, and I'm like, I need to email this guy. I literally sent him an email, and within like, it was a couple hours, he responded and was like, it'd be a pleasure, you know, to do something for your YouTube channel.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh my. So yeah, no, it's going to be good. I'm excited for it. I have some thoughts in my head on what I want to do. So it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So, but that's my next week. So, Mr. Burns, what's going on down in East Central Ohio in the next week?
Or Ohio, depending on what part of the country you're in. Man, what's going on up here? Well, I got a hectic week the rest of this week. We've got a learning yard this Saturday. Monday, I'll be speaking at the Guernsey Noble Beekeeping Club. And what's cool about that is we have a yard there at the Sportsman's Club. And so we're going to take advantage of that and actually show folks hands-on how to put treatments on, Apigard, how to put Formic on, how to use oxalic acid. We're going to live do it hands-on out there in the field, and then we'll go inside the building and kind of do the talk through all those things. So that's pretty cool. What else is coming up? Oh man, as far as some speaking engagements. So this Monday we've got the Guernsey Club. This the type of year where a lot of clubs will start reaching out to have us come out and talk to their members about how to put the treatments on, how to do it correctly, how to build up for fall, what to look for, get everything ready for winter. So that's a lot of fun to visit with clubs the rest of the year, doing that. A little bit later on in September 12th and 13th, we'll be at the West Virginia Beekeepers Bee Fair. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm speaking there as a presenter, and also we'll have a little booth set up. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then September 27th, we'll be at the MCBA conference, and I believe we'll be there with Fred Dunn. I think Fred and I are speaking at that one. So that'll be pretty cool. From there, it just gets even wilder. So a lot of fun things going on. I love, as you guys know, just sharing. Everything is a lesson in life, including beekeeping. And that's kind of where my heart's at, to share those things. And there's a million places you can go for nuts and bolts on how to keep bees. And that's great. But what I feel like is on our heart to do, what we're called to do, to be that lighthouse, is to, share our beekeeping experience, but also, let's be honest, let's get real about things. Where are we at with mentally, physically, spiritually, as a beekeeper is even more important than, in my opinion, than the beekeeping aspect of it. So I love visiting bee clubs and conferences and sharing our life journey into beekeeping, because it literally started off as a second chance in life, and everything changed. And that's how I got into beekeeping. So I'd love to share that. Outside of that, man, I've got some fun videos that are going to be coming up. I've really been enjoying really getting a bunch of repetitions on this Maxant equipment. I know that this might sound like a little tiny victory, but it is a victory. It's one of those things where there are so many beekeepers who complain about Chinese honey and the China honey market, and how if you go to the grocery store and look at the back of a bottle of honey, that's selling for $7 a pound, it's a project of Argentina, or a project of this, or it's a product of that, where China is literally shuffling their honey through different countries before it comes to the United States. And a lot of American beekeepers are fed up, and they're tired of China and that Chinese funny honey game, and what that does to economically to USA honey. And that's a big deal. It doesn't just stop there, though, too. The same thing goes on with honey equipment and the things that we're using to actually process the American honey. A lot of it is falsely advertised, is nothing but Chinese garbage that comes over here, and folks don't know any better, and they're using that to spin their honey off. So for us, it's awesome to be able to use equipment that's actually made in the USA by Americans for Americans, all the components made here, in the USA. And so to me, it's neat to be able to share this part of our journey. It's not the easy way. It's not. The easiest thing to do is get on Amazon, have one here tomorrow. But easy and right is something that the individual beekeeper has to sort out for themselves. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about kind of where the beekeeping industry is starting to go. There's a lot of hurdles, a lot of challenges, a lot of things left. It feels like left undone, and maybe we'll never be fully whole when it comes to some of these things. But I think it's our responsibility to do the best we can with what we've got, where we're at right now with it. And that's what's on our heart to do. So next week we'll be on Bruce's YouTube channel. See, I got that right. It added 50-50 chance. It's either mine or Bruce's, right? So we'll be on Bruce's next week, 8 p.m. On Wednesday. And until then, we just want to remind you to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.